Alright, we've got a great fight here. It's Petr Yain versus Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain coming in with a 4-inch reach advantage, a 5-fight win streak. He's got some good wins over Jimmy Rivera, Pedro Munoz, Sandhagen, of course, even though, if those guys fought 10 times, I'd still favour Sandhagen over Sterling. But nonetheless, very good win. Capitalised on an opportunity there. And who else? Someone good, someone decent. I forgot who it was though. And yeah, so Petr Yain, he's 7-0 in the UFC as well, so he's put a nice little win streak together. And he is the 135 champion, and that's the belt they are fighting for in this one. Alright, let's break down the striking of these two. Alright, Yain, he's got very good boxing. He's able to fight in either stance. He's got power in, both hands. He's coming forward with that forward pressure. He's looking to land the 1-2, 1-1-2, just to keep the opponent backing up to kind of allow him to keep pressuring forward. Also, he will cut off the cage and make the octagon really small for you, and that's when he starts teeing off against the fence. But yeah, Aljamain Sterling, he's a little bit different. He fights very long. He likes to keep it at range. He will switch stance as well, but he's mostly in orthodox. That's where he does his best work. But yeah, he's generally just throwing singular strikes, just trying to keep distance pretty much. He singular strikes, but he throws crazy volume on those singular strikes. And it involves a lot of kicks as well, a lot of teeps, a lot of side kicks, a lot of body kicks. He's got a very high work rate. So one thing Yain does that a lot of Muay Thai guys do is they will catch a kick. So Aljo throws a lot of teep kicks. I could see Yain looking to kind of sweep away, kind of paw away at the teep, and then looking to get Aljo a little bit off balance, a little bit off kilter, and then look to land that right hand or left hand, depends what stance he's in. But yeah. But Aljo, yeah, he's constantly pumping that jab out. He's just trying to get, volume up pretty much. And he could, run into the counter left hook of Yain. That's probably his favourite punch, I'd have to say. That's one he goes to quite a lot, especially when he's in trouble. He'll go with the counter left hook, and it's, very deadly. He's caught a lot of people with that. Another thing that worries me when I look at Aljo on tape is that his head movement's good. Like, he doesn't get hit very often. Like, you look at his UFC stats or whatever, and then, his strike and defense is very good. He doesn't get hit very often, but, that head movement, that very erratic, that very exaggerated head movement that he does, he can definitely lean onto things, or, talented strikers that are looking to set up traps and stuff and, like, make reads quick, they'll look to kind of exploit that exaggeration that he does. Because, in the Jimmy Rivera fight, it was fairly close, but then it just came down to Yain's fight IQ and his ability to make something happen and to set up things in the long run, and they paid off. I can absolutely see that happening here. I can definitely see a head kick when, Aljamain is leaning very hard to his left or right. Yain's got a very nice lead leg high kick, a switch high kick. I think that's what Marlon Moraes caught him with. The kick that Marlon Moraes caught him with, it was a knee, but like, it wasn't a lucky shot. Like, he, even though the knee caught him, it was the read that he made, was that Aljo was just, very predictable with his head movement, and he was exaggerating a lot of his head movement, and he was going for a lot of shots that weren't set up. And yeah, he caught him with the knee. He was going for the high kick, but he caught him with the knee, and that's all she wrote anyway. So, the ends justify the means, I guess. But yeah, so yeah, I can just see, because Yain caught Jimmy with a nice high kick. Jimmy ate it somehow, but yeah, it's just something to watch out for. Also, with Yain, something that's come up that's obvious to me is that he doesn't check leg kicks like at all. Sterling isn't a huge leg kicker. He does have a nice counter low kick, whenever his opponent throws a kick on him, but he's not that guy who's going to come out and start attacking your leg and really targeting it like a Pedro Munoz or something like that. Another thing with Yain is that he can't overextend on his right hand or his left hand, any cross that in any stance that he's, throwing it with. But yeah, you can overextend on it, which like leaves him open for his opponent to jump on a leg, a single leg, or take the back. Jimmy Rivera actually took the back when Yan overextended on one of his twos, and you don't want to have that happen if it's Aljamain Sterling. It's okay if it's Jimmy Rivera, but yeah, if it's Aljamain Sterling, you don't want that. But yeah, that's generally where Aljamain wants to fight. He wants it on the mat, and he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt on the ground. He has good guard passes. He's got very good Jiu-Jitsu in general. The way he gets fights to the mat is that he'll pressure, he'll look to feint, try to get you near the fence, and then he'll shoot. When he shoots in the open, like for a double, he kind of telegraphs it a little bit. Leans forward, reaches with the hands first, but also he just doesn't set them up very well. So yeah, his takedowns in the open probably, leave a lot to be desired, but yeah, his best work is done on the fence. But Yan in the UFC has shown good takedown defense on especially single legs. He throws offense off the clinch break. He's looking to stuff the takedown and then hurt you for trying to take him to the mat. Pretty much every time the clinch break happens, he's looking for offense. So that's something Aljo's got to watch out for. And he will go for takedowns of his own. He has a nice, rear body lock, goes for a trip. I wouldn't say he would go for it in this fight, but it's always in his back pocket. And then, when he gets on top, he tries to land those straight ground and pound punches. Aljo will be too scrambly for him to let them off, the same ones that he was hitting Jose Aldo with. But yeah, he just has it in his back pocket, so he's no chump on the ground. But yeah, stand up, I've got to give the advantage overall to Yan, and also he just has the power advantage, pretty big power advantage, and also just the speed advantage, in my opinion, as well. But I'm not sure who has the advantage on the mat. I'd probably have to lean Sterling. I just haven't seen enough of Yan on the mat throughout his career to make an assumption on it, but that's definitely where Sterling wants to fight. I'm just not sure. Probably, off their back and, pure jiu-jitsu, I'd have to go Sterling. But, just all-around grappling, I'm not 100% sure. So, but yeah, I'd have to lean Sterling just based on, how he fights and what he's shown in his career. Alright, so why these guys are one of the, best fighters for their division in the world. Well, for Petr Yan, he's got very nice boxing, he's got very nice strike and defense as well. He's got very good power as well for a 135er. Good range management. He's very good at keeping opponents at range where they can't hit him, but he can hit them. Also, yeah, he's very good at keeping the range that he wants for fights. But yeah, he also, keeps that same speed, keeps the same volume for 5 rounds, never seems to really get tired. He's got suffocating pressure that kind of breaks opponents. He's got very good takedown defense from what we've seen in the UFC, and when he does have you hurt, he will go for the kill. And just in general, he's a very vicious fighter. He's just like his nickname, No Mercy. He's pretty merciless. But for Aljamain, he's got really good scrambles. He's got good volume on the feet. We haven't seen it in 5 rounds, but yeah, maybe he was slowing down a little bit at the end of the Munoz fight, but he was throwing insane volume. But yeah, he will keep volume through the whole fight, and he will push through that and push through fatigue and keep pumping out that volume. But it's something, if you don't want to be throwing lazy shots against a sniper like Petr Yan, sorry. Also, yeah, he seems to be getting more and more comfortable on the feet. Earlier in his career, I could tell that he wasn't really comfortable, didn't really like getting hit, but he seems to be getting a little bit more comfortable in the open now. Right, so how these guys lose their fights have to be a bit nitpicky because both are very good. They win the majority of their fights. But yeah, Yan, just the striking tendencies we talked about before, the overextending, the leg kicks and all that kind of stuff. For Aljamain, his takedowns, when he doesn't set them up in the open, it can leave him to getting knocked out cold like he did versus Marlon Moraes. So he just needs to just work on how he sets up his takedowns, in my opinion, because yeah, on the mat he's elite. Also, yeah, in my opinion, I don't think he's very comfortable on the feet even now. He's getting more comfortable, but I still think he's not very comfortable on the feet and getting hit. So past the victory for these two. For Petr Yan, So, you know, go with the leg kicks as well. Pedro Munoz was having a lot of success with those early in the fight. Because, you know, Aljo has that wide stance, he's open to be leg kicked. He checks a few, but yeah, you keep piling them up, they're going to keep doing damage. Just make sure to keep them low, just because he is very good at catching a kick and, you know, working a single leg off that. But in general, just keep that forward pressure so he can't, you know, push you onto the fence and set up his own takedowns. But yeah, make him feel your power early. Make him, you know, not want to stay on the feet. Make him take desperate shots, and then you can punish him for that after that. But yeah, the high kick as well that we talked about before when he dips hard to one side. So yeah, double jab to set that up, or just a jab to set it up. Just make sure he leans the way that you want him to lean. So when he slips a punch, you know, then go for the high kick. So yeah, straight knee if you get a read on his takedown shot if he's not setting it up. But also, yeah, the counter left over the Aljo jab that we talked about before in the striking tendencies. But yeah, I wouldn't throw any body kicks in this one, just because you don't want him to grab one and then take you to the mat and then control you for the whole round. Even though I think Petr has very good scrambles, you know, it's not worth it. And, you know, there's other ways to hurt the body. So yeah, path to victory for Aljamain Sterling. You know, with the leg kicks as well, because, you know, Yan doesn't check them, so you start throwing those leg kicks, you start feinting the leg kicks a bit as well, so you start getting reads on the feints, and then you can set up other things from there, but just make him think about something else. But also, if he's going to overextend on his two, just initiate a grappling situation. Can either, yeah, go for a single leg, take the back if he overextends real hard. But yeah, if at any time he gives you the back, just look to clinch onto that and take him down from there, or just control him on the back. But also, just at distance, you know, teeps under the high guard. Pure Yan has that high guard, so you can sneak your teeps under there and drain at the cardio a little bit, maybe slow him down. Alright, so how I see this one going. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see that. So yeah, obviously, you know, common sense would say that Yan wants to keep it on the feet. Sterling likely wants to get it to the mat. You know, from what I've seen from Yan, he does all the right things when defending takedowns. He gets the underhooks gets the underhooks, sets up a whizzer when he's defending double legs, all that kind of stuff. Like, he does everything perfect, so I can't really say with certainty that, you know, Aljo's going to have, you know, an easy time taking him to the ground. I think he's going to have a very hard time taking him to the ground. And also, when Yan's in the clinch, he does all the right things. You know, Aljo doesn't have the best takedowns in the first place, but he's very good at creating a scramble. Like, personally, I see Yan nullifying Aljo's ground game for the most of the fight. I can see him getting him down at one point, absolutely. But for the most of the fight, I think he's going to be able to cancel out that ground game of Aljo. You know, then Sterling's kind of forced to stand and trade with Yan. So Yan is a calculated boxer who sets up traps and makes reads immediately. Whereas, in my opinion, Sterling is just kind of pressing buttons. He's just kind of, you know, throwing random shit out there and doesn't really have much structure to it. And that works against a guy who's like standing in front of you, like Pedro Munoz, who doesn't move his head and just stands in front of you. But yeah, against this guy who's making reads, he's setting traps, I'm not sure if he's going to have the same success. Yan has had trouble like tracking down opponents with good footwork in the past, like Dodson, Rivera. But in those fights, he had to be careful not to overcommit himself because they had that power threat. He didn't want to walk onto a power punch or anything like that. Whereas that probably won't be a threat in this fight because I don't think Sterling is going to hurt him on the feet. I mean, really, like he doesn't have too much power in his punches or, you know, kicks or anything. He could catch him with a high kick or whatever, but I'll happily eat my words if that happens, but I 100% don't see that happening. Although, you know, the fact is that Aljo sets a crazy pace with his volume, so Yan does need to be aware of that. He needs to just, you know, be aware of where he is in the fight as a whole. But yeah, with Yan, he's not going to be there to be hit like Munoz, so I can't see Sterling racking up the volume such as he did versus Munoz. And also, you know, Yan's going to come back with a power that Munoz doesn't generally have. So Sterling probably will be a little bit tentative on the feet, whereas he, was just letting it all go in the Munoz fight. But if, Jan can keep on the feet, I believe he's going to be much more comfortable. And 25 minutes is a long time to be uncomfortable if you're forced to fight where you don't want to be. I'm talking about if Jan stuffs all of Aljo's takedowns, really nullifies the ground game, and Aljo just has to stand with him. Because 25 minutes, a long time, when you're being pressured, forced to fight in the way that you're uncomfortable with, that can wear on you mentally. So I kind of see Jan just, teeing off on him later, really getting his reads down pat, wearing Aljo down a little bit with the pressure, and I see him finishing Aljo in the 3rd or 4th round via TKO or KO. But yeah, let's look at the betting lines. Alright, so the betting lines right now, fairly close. I thought it was going to be a pick'em for a second, which I would love, because I do favour Jan. I think around 60 to about 62%. I feel like he should be that much of a favourite. But yeah, Aljo is just a hard guy to bet against because, he comes in with that crazy volume, that awkward style people aren't used to fighting. And he's a hard opponent to look good against. But I just think Jan is just too much for him, honestly. Maybe I'm kind of waiting for Jan to get to about $1.80, or whatever that is in American monoline thing. But yeah, I'm kind of waiting for Jan to get $1.80, and then I'll start playing him. But yeah, even I think he's value right now, but I'm just kind of waiting for that line to go back up again.